good morning or good day or good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to this informal open chat with innovators. So if you're aspiring to be an innovator, or you are an innovator and you're going to be here to support people along their journey, then you're very, very welcome. So I'd like to introduce Andy Caffrey, Regional Director from EdTech team in the UK. He's come along to support us for the first part of our session. He's Google Innovator Program team. So Andy, you want to say hi and lead us through some of these curious and exciting times for the Virtual Innovator Academy.
Yeah, I can give you the high level overview where we're at right now. So as people have probably seen, we've launched, we've cancelled all face-to-face academies for this year, and in its place I've launched an online innovator academy, which has the code VIA20, which stands for Virtual Innovator Academy. And so VIA20 will be offered in 2 languages. So it's available both in English and Spanish, and the program will be delivered in both languages. In terms of how the format will work, in difference to a face-to-face event, the Innovator program is broken down to 2 chunks. So the first part is an 8-week program, which covers the content which has traditionally been covered at the face-to-face academy. So over an 8-week program, the time commitment is around 3 hours per week. And that 3 hours is broken down into an hour of a program session during the week, 1 hour with your coach, and our coaches are all based in the same time zones as our applicants. And finally, a Spark session, which is optional, and there'll be roughly 1 of those a week as well. So that makes, if you like, for each week of program weeks, 3 hours worth of content over the 8 weeks of program time that we deliver. So that's how if you like, we've taken the 3 days worth of content and split it out over that period of time. Once you get to the end of those 8 weeks, there's a graduation. And then at that point, we go into the traditional mentorship program that the Innovator Academy has always had. And that's always been an online, predominantly online piece that we've always done. So that, in fact, doesn't change as we go into that phase. And we go through the mentorship for the rest of the 12-month program. So it's some similar elements to the program, but some very different pieces as well. And of course, all the usual innovator elements will take place as well. So we've still got the swag, and we've still got the Spark Camp, and we've still got the welcome activities and some new activities that we've never done before coming into VIA20. So lots of exciting things going on, and lots of involvement from Google this time around as well, because we're able to source from around the world a team of people to speak to, and so we're getting a much deeper insight into some of Google's operations as well than we've got when we go to one office, and we're obviously limited to the Googlers in that office or the products in that office. So a slightly broader piece around that as well. So that's sort of the high level overview. Key things to know right now, obviously, is we've opened the applications up for VIA20. If you've already started an application for any other academy, for Sydney or Sunnyvale or Mexico or Madrid, you can simply finish that application off and submit it. So we can take the applications from any of the 4 existing ones, or we've now opened an English and Spanish application form for VIA20. So it doesn't matter which one you submit. Any that are submitted by the deadline of July the 10th come into our scoring system, and we will then score. And around 2 weeks later, we'll come out and let the successful applicants know if they've made it. So expect a decision roughly 2 weeks after July the 10th. That, I think, is the high-level overview. But there's probably some questions people want to ask.
There could be some questions. So if you have any questions, pop them in to the chat.
Or unmute and ask, yeah.
Yeah, unmute. There's not many people
from our
here.
Innovators, I know there's quite a lot of innovators kicking around in here as well. If any of those want to ask me any questions as well, of course they can as well.
Can we do it over, Andy?
No, you can't. You cannot do it over. You cannot do it over. The only way you can get back in is as a coach.
Can we just piggyback?
Could we do it?
No, I'm watching out for. I'm watching out for changing names and different email addresses. I've seen it all before.
Clay grew the beard just so he'd look different.
Yeah. Yeah, incognito.
Who's this guy?
Someone's asked the question about how many participants.
Rhonda has, yes.
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and there is actually no set answer to this right now. What I can say is this will be the biggest cohort we've ever recruited as a single cohort. far larger than a normal academy in that respect. And the reason why we don't have a set number right now is what we're doing right now is we're monitoring the number of applicants and the regions that they're coming in from. Once we know roughly how that's balancing out in terms of the global pattern of that, we're then going to recruit the coaches to match, if you like. So if a particular region of the world has a lot of people apply, we're going to put more coaches into that space. If we get a quiet region with less applicants, less coaches in that space, because obviously we want to make those coach groups of 6 people regionally time zone based. And so that is therefore varying our number a bit. But if I had to give a number, I'm going to say at least 60, but probably higher at this point. And we're still in some discussions with some regions as well about the numbers.
Mm-hmm. So, Andrew, this is Rhonda. Hey, guys.
Hi, Rhonda.
Hi, Rhonda.
Question about, okay, so if they take 60 and we have them in these regions, so we'll say if we have a good number in the United States region, will they have their own type of activities? Like, will they be doing their own thing? And then you have a big come together at the end with everybody, because time zones, things of that nature, especially when you're talking international time zones. So I was just curious how that would work as far as, I know that's how Sparks are going to work, but I was curious as how the regular day-to-day things
would work. So the regular day-to-day sessions are often more than once. So just to be clear on that, so in a particular week, we have to deliver a program session, which is delivered to the whole cohort, and then obviously the session with the coach. Now the session with the coach is nice and easy because we know the coach is in your time zone, and it's a matter of you and 6 people getting together on a meet call. So that's a bit easy to organise. For the program sessions, effectively we've got a number of design thinking coaches who will be on board for this academy. So Monica Martinez delivering our Spanish language design thinking for VIA 20, and Les Macbeth delivering our English language, but Les delivering more than once, in fact probably more than twice, to give us the global coverage. And Les is quite happy to do some strange times right now because she's just had a baby, so she's quite up for the early morning delivery and then doing the same thing again later in the day. So there'll be multiple opportunities for people to join those program sessions. But
will you be getting any sleep?
On and off.
Has he ever?
Oh, it's you know that's like this is my job, and the academy is global, and this will be it'd be really nice to have a global piece. The only time the cohort will come together for the full as a full cohort, bearing in mind we've got the two languages as well, at least 2 languages. There may be more languages in as well. Is going to be the opening, because we're having a big global opening piece. Obviously, Spark Camp, but that's a bit varied, and then the closing. And for the closing, we're going live on the Google for Education YouTube channel for the closing ceremony.
Okay.
So those will be the times where we come together.
That'll be a really exciting time. Is there any more? I think people are starting to put their Twitter handles in there. We can do that in a little while, sure. And some of the questions that I had, I'm not going to pop in because they have been answered about the sizes, time zones. Will they have a coach to work with? All of those.
Somebody asked, is Canada connected? We're not working on countries, working on time zones, because it's far easier to be connected to a coach who's in the same time zone as you.
Yep.
So Canada, depends whether you're east or west, as whether you fit east or west. For the Earth is east and west.
Daylight saving and all that stuff.
Yes, rather than seeing them as different, because obviously people on the west of the US and the west of Canada, it will suit having a coach who's west. So that's why we're looking at that. Someone asked that. Trying to just scroll through for any of the questions.
Just having a look.
Will there be able to do the Pass the Torch video? Yes, I'm trying to think, where did Pass the Torch get to? Did we get to Brazil? We got to Brazil, didn't we?
Yeah, we got to Brazil. Brazil was the last one.
So Brazil was the video. That's a good point. That's going to be interesting. Okay, so yeah, that's a good point. We do need to do a Pass the Torch video, and so Brazil owe us a video for that.
I think it'd be cool, Andy, if we did one with everybody, just a little piece or something, because if we're gonna have it with the different, with the languages and things, I think that'd be awesome. Have a little bit of everybody.
Yeah, we do also, of course, have the big Spark Camp, and that's the first time we've done the global Spark Camp as well. And so that's why we're really bringing the big community into VIA 20, right in the middle. So we've got that piece. Will graduation be completed online as well, or partially in person? Our graduation is online. The whole academy is delivered in its entirety online. We're not planning to come into a Google office at this point, because obviously Google have closed their offices. to the end of the year at least. Just scrolling for more. No, I think that's
No,
all the questions. Like...
Yep. No, I'll just reiterate that one there. No, that's great, Andy. I don't think there's anything else. I've gone through the list that I was given through the sign up, and they've all been answered. So when people see that video, they'll be able to get those answers. I mean,
also, we're expecting, because we are going globally, we are expecting, again, a high number of applications. We always get a high number of applications for Innovator Academy. And so we will be going through the normal scoring process and selecting the applications. And of course, it's the innovators, some of whom are on this call right now, who will be helping me score and then ranking them in order, and simply the top ones. We're coming into Academy at that point. So it is about it still remains the same. It's focusing on the applications, getting that correct. It's getting their application so it sells well with other innovators. So selecting a problem that other people think that's a great idea or that really needs solving, because that's ultimately what gets you into Academy.
Yes.
There are on the website, someone's asked about scoring rubrics. On the website, we've got some examples of that. We don't give the full scoring rubric away, but we do give some examples that talk through the common errors and how to frame that. So that was Paula's question. We did indeed watch some videos the other night. We did indeed watch some videos the other night and score them.
That's all videoed, so they could go and check that out. We're going to put those.
Yes, I've shared that.
Will there be another webinar for video?
I'll try and dig out the link. I'll grab the link in a minute and put it in the chat. But we did a webinar this week on video applications, and that's on our YouTube channel. And I'll go and grab the link now.
Okay, then.
While
Thanks.
I'm talking, and I'll get that in the chat so people can have that. And watch that back. But in that video, we went through some tips for producing more video.
There were really good tips in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm off the screen looking for that link, but feel free to.
Okay then. Well, what we might
any requirements to join, just for the application. So the requirements on joining are: you need to be a Google certified educator at level 2. So make sure that your level 2 is valid. It needs to be valid as of the 10th of July, because that's the date of deadline. So make sure you get your level 2 sorted by that date.
I'll just type that in there now. Okay then. Well, what we might do is, if there are no more questions on VIA, that's
the link to the.
You got the link in there?
That's the link to the YouTube session. There's the video session for earlier in the week. Yeah.
All right then. So take that link. All right then. Thank you very much. Well, Andy, I don't think there's any more questions. We could let you go to bed. See, it's nearly midnight.
Yeah.
Good night and good evening.
Yeah, that's a good questions, but yeah, feel free, and of course you can always reach out to us on Twitter, or just talk to many of the innovators in the call. Lots of innovators in here anyway who can answer questions, I'm sure. Absolutely,
and I'll put the link in there, or someone will put the link in there for the chat that's been going on, the official chat. So I'll see if I can find that in a minute and pop that in. But
just
otherwise,
the certification. I see Abid mentioning certifications here. For the innovator, we only require level 2. We don't actually require level 1, and there isn't a requirement to do level 1 before level 2. So if you are a particularly skilled user of Google, you could just shoot straight for level 2. I need to be really clear, the trainer program requires both. So if you then later go to do trainer, you'll have to backpedal and do level 1. But for innovator, the only one we require is level 2.
First time I did it, I skipped straight to 2, and then I had to go back and take 1 so I could take trainer.
Trainee, and I did the same. I did 2 and then innovator. Then when I went to become a trainer, I was like, oh, turns out I do need level 1.
I better get 1. Yeah.
So there is that. But if you are, if someone's pushing this for, trying to get for July, one of the options to save a bit of time would be to do it that way.
So I've just put 2 links in there: the Innovator program That I know that Andy did that with the YouTube link, and then I put in there's one more webinar to sign up for. And this is the fine tuning of the application. These are fantastic webinars to join, and they are recorded. So if it's way out of your time zone, you can still access them. So there's the sign up form. Make sure that you are signed up there. And I've also put the Innovator Hangout bit.ly link in there that it's a great place to chat, and both of those are official Google spaces. This is an informal space, and it's very well supported by Andy when he comes in and helps us sort out all the facts and figures. Okay then, well, thank you very much, and we might go on and have a quiet chat about how might we statements and any questions about videos and anything that we can share our experiences on. We'll be doing that. Okay then, good night, Andy. Thank you so much for coming in. No more questions there.
I'll check the form. I'll check Rhonda's point about the form.
It says May 27 is the last day. So yes, I might have an old link. Thank you, Andy, because
I'll check that.
Okay,
I'll probably change the form.
Okay, it was your form.
The form might be outdated. Yeah, I'll go and check it now.
All right then, thanks.
You're right. There's one more webinar to go next week, so I'll go and check the form, and if it's missing, I'll edit it.
Okay then, thanks very much. All right, keep an eye on that form. All right then, thanks so much, Andy.
Bye.
Yeah, take care. So what I might ask people to do now is put their Twitter handle in there, because you can reach out to us at any time. And I've been chatting to quite a few people, and so have other innovators. So I'm just going to put mine in. I'm from Sydney 19. All right, just popping mine in there now. And so what we might do now is I'll invite people to put in any questions they have on the how might we statements. Just a reminder that when you are putting trying to describe your issue, don't put a solution in. Don't say how might we use Google Drive to do something, right? No, that's the solution. So, or that's what you perceive the solution to be. Have a really open mind to come to the Innovator Academy space and be able to solve it with some incredible people. And of course, design thinking is going to guide you through your problem solving. So I'm going to pop in a few questions that were sent to me via the just going to put applications down here, and I'm going to pop it into the Meet. If any of the innovators would like to grab one of those, I've just headed it under applications. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 questions in there. And thanks, Alice. She's do not use action verbs. That's interesting. Alice, do you want to unmute and share something on that?
Hi, Leslie. Nice seeing you here.
Hello. Great to see you too. So that's really interesting. Yes, go on.
Yeah, anytime we think of how might we, if we think of an action verb, something related to creating, you are coming up with a solution. And how might we, those are questions that you're finding opportunities to answer with a solution. So don't think of verbs like create, develop, come up, nothing that suggests having something physically done or creating something. So think of verbs that really lead you to opportunities.
Yeah, thanks, Alice. That's really good. It's really tricky, that that statement, that sentence that we put into our application and into our videos. So some people are asking for great tips. These are the people that sent. You might see yours here, that you've sent it in through the application form. How might we make our, how do we make our application great? Best tips. What does it take to be accepted? Anybody want to take up on that? Just the clarity, the focus, no solutions.
Show personality, and you have to be somebody that we want to work with. Because if you might have the best problem in the world, but if you're boring, I don't want to, I hope nobody takes this the wrong way, but if we don't want to work with you, or if you don't seem like one of that you have like just the right amount of crazy, you know, why?
Then how did you get in?
You know already, lady. I'm just the right amount of crazy.
Just a pinch of crazy. Okay, then. Yeah, just a pinch. What are some of the key areas which may be of interest for the application? People have applied in the past, and if you have, we're really pleased to see you back and refining your focus.
Leslie.
Yeah.
This is Rhonda. Hey, this is Rhonda again. As far as I applied twice, and I got in on the second one. The first one I wanted. At first, I put in a solution. That was the first mistake. And the second thing was I really wasn't as passionate about it as I thought I was until I began writing the application that got me into the program. So as far as key things, it's several of us had some similar how might we's or project and ideas, but it was the way we wanted to kind of present it and the level of passion that we had with it. So I'm not saying that you can't be like super, like not as passionate as the next person, but it has to be something for me. It had to be something that sold me on what I wanted to see come to fruition. And therefore I was able to convey that through my application and my video.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, Rhonda. You've hit on a really good point there. I mean, if we've fallen in love with a problem, and we always hear that, you have to fall in love with that problem, and you come to school and it hits you, and then you're working through your day and it still hits you, and you're carrying this problem, and you want to be able to get into a group of people that are going to help you solve this problem. And of course, the students are the ones who are going to benefit at the end, even if it's a community. Some sort of a community issue that you want to get solving, it's the students at the end of it who are going to be, to benefit from this process. So that's so great. Oh, hi, Chris. Yeah, hello first. Hello, Cray, and then I'll bring Chris in. Come on, Cray.
Yeah, let me just also throw in there that I applied twice as well, and it was the exact same application both times, and I'm a firm believer that the academy had to be ready for me. I honestly think, if there had been any other academy, as amazing as they all are, it would not have been kind of the same. I got pushed into a really fantastic group with a really phenomenal coach that was specific to my skill set, and that was able to just kind of take me to that next level and really step me up. And push me to push my skills and my thinking into a totally different level. So don't think that it's you if you don't get in. Think that it may just be that the academy just wasn't ready for you yet, and you just keep applying, just keep going at it.
I agree with Clay. I applied to Mexico the year before, and I got in New York. And the challenge of being the bilingual, I don't care. Doing it in my second language wasn't really much of an issue, but I'm sure that New York was my cohort and Mexico wasn't, and that's the difference. And I found my like-minded wackos, and they're all there, and they're my family, and even Nana Rue, who I adore, who's right there. She knows, and we had an awesome time, and it was like that was my group, I'm sure. Then
that's great.
After that, there's like an extended group, which Leslie and Abid and Clay, and there's lots of people there. And even Stephanie Howell. But yeah.
Oh, that's really great. So thanks, Clay and Lewis, for pointing that out. It is true. And I'd like to introduce Chris has popped in. Chris, another guy from Down Under, from Australia. He's program manager, G Suite adoption in Australia and New Zealand, and he works at Google. He was an innovator, and now he's working at Google, and he's popped some great comments there in the chat. So Chris, do you want to unmute and pop in and say hi and clarify some of your comments there? I put
sure.
in.
I'll pop in.
Here he is.
I'll leave the camera off because I'm still in bed.
You sounded pretty crook the other day when you turned the mic on.
No, I'm not crook. I'm just lazy.
Oh, that's all right. I don't mind that.
Sunday morning.
It's Sunday
Yeah, I
morning.
know. Yeah, tell me about
So. No, look, I was having a conversation with a guy last night who reached out to me. He was from Canada, I think, asking for some advice on the application, and it was specifically about framing this question. And it was interesting because he shared his sort of challenge statement with me, and while it was really good and poetic and aspirational, at the end of the day there was no real question in it. It was this beautiful motherhood statement that didn't really lead to anything. And when I sort of said, like, okay, what's the actual question, I just got the sense that there was still he kind of already knew where he was going with this, right? He'd phrased the statement around his question in such a way that the answer was going to be obvious. And I said, no, don't do that. Like, I already know what you're going to do. Like, there's no surprise here. Like, I know exactly what it is you want to do. So, like, just take a step backwards. Think more generally. And I think Alice's tip there about using non-action verbs is a really good tip. I just pushed back a little bit on that just there because I think I would hate that to be interpreted by anyone as don't use verbs at all. If someone's not sure the difference between an action verb and a regular verb, because really all verbs are action verbs in a sense, because they're all about doing something. So I'm just a little concerned that if we just say don't use an action verb, people will say, oh, I'll avoid verbs. And you can't do that because you have to at some point indicate some sort of action towards a goal. You just don't want to know what that action leads to. You don't want to know what it will actually be. So I see Alice just clarified there with, don't use words like create, make, do, develop, etc. But other verbs, rethink, suggest, permit, allow, they're good. Just don't avoid verbs altogether.
Okay, good point. Thank you.
Yeah,
Chris.
but it is hard to do to try and not have a solution in mind. We think it's easy, but it's actually not. And even if you write down a how might we statement and then give it to someone else and ask them, so, do you know where I'm going with this? If someone goes, oh yeah, I think I know what you're going to do here. And if they're thinking the same thing you're thinking, then you probably have not been vague enough.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good way to. That's a good point, Chris. And anyway, I like Chris Hart's comment. What was it? Carry your ideas. Carry your ideas lightly.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Which means if someone pushes back on something, don't assume they're trying to argue with you. Just assume that the idea you had might need modification or letting go of.
Yeah, and Clay's put in a great comment there that the how might we may shift. Yeah, you can count on that, and it can shift as you get into the academy and as you leave the academy and as you refine it. And then, like I refined my statement a couple of times after I left the academy, but what's true in my heart, I want to support teachers and help them get over that technophobia and give them confidence. It's still there, but I do it in different ways, and I'm really open to what other innovators are doing. So it's, yeah, you will. It's called a pivot, and I think the academy has just shown us how a major pivot can still help us move forward, going from a physical academy to a virtual one. It's the biggest pivot I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. I think too, the other thing is you've probably used a technique with your students called the 5 whys, where there's a student will say something, you say why, and then they explain that and you go, well, why? And then you just keep saying why until eventually it winnows them down to like the essence of what it is they're talking about. And I think do that with your question as well. So when you frame your question up, back up a bit and say, why does that matter to me? Or why am I doing that? And then when you phrase that in your head, back up again and say, well, why does that matter? Just keep backing up on your question until you get to the absolute essence of what it is you're trying to do. Are you trying to provide teachers with a way to, I don't know, I can't even think of a question in my head right now, but like just keep backing up and saying, well, why does that matter? Why does that matter? Why does that matter? And eventually you get to the essence of what it is you're actually trying to do. And when you get to the essence, suddenly all the solutions disappear.
And that's a really good tip for us as innovators. If someone comes to us on Twitter or through these chats, that's a good tip for us to keep saying, yeah, but why? Why does that matter?
Yeah.
So that's for both sides of the conversation here. Well, thanks,
Also-
Chris, very much.
Also, if you think coming up with one how might we is a pain, wait till Les or Monica get a hold of you and have you come up with 9 of them in an hour. That will drive you up the wall.
Just looking through the questions that were put, were submitted through the sign-up form, and I'm not even going to put them in because a lot of them have been answered here. Great responses, and thanks, Chris, very much. All right, so are there any questions on, so we've looked about how might we, are there any questions on the video or we've covered the Virtual Academy. Andy covered that. We've gone through looking at the how might we statements, and certainly falling in love with the problem. Thanks, Lewis. And whoa, the video. So yes, the video is the weighting is fairly strong there, and I think you've got 90 seconds this time. And, we had 60 seconds last time, so we had to get all our jazz into that 60 seconds. But you've got 90 seconds this time, and they're just innovators who are here. What's your top 2 tips? We'll just go through quickly. What are your top tips for people who are using their videos? I'm just going to go first. You're not going to apply for a videographer for Netflix. It doesn't have to have everything in it. And some of the best videos that I've seen, and I haven't seen a lot, but some of the best videos have been on a smart device, smartphone, propped up on a pillow or cable tied to something. Or I've even seen Lego cradles on Twitter where they've just sat the phone in that. Look at the camera. So there's a couple of my tips. Going around the circle, anyone else want to put some tips in to encourage our aspiring innovators?
Don't be afraid of not ever having had a video before. You don't need like Hollywood production, what Leslie said. It would be nice to see you. I know some of us are camera shy and don't want to come up and they'll put it in a Bitmoji or something. Try and show personality. If your personality can go through with Bitmojis, well, more power to you. But the idea is we do want to see you, and we want to see how you are.
Yeah, show us who you are. I think that's really important to if you're a teacher in a classroom, show us that you're in your classroom. If you're an administrator that's working in an office, show us that. If you wear crazy T-shirts, like one every single day, differently every day of the year, show us.
Or socks, crazy socks.
Or socks, yeah.
Absolutely. And, like if your problem is something to do with the way things are happening at school, take us for a walk. Take not us, like whoever's marking, but I mean, if it's something the way things are set up and you want to be able to support students, take it for a walk.
One thing you really, really have to bear in mind, make sure you can be understood. It might look beautiful, but if you're filming like out in the middle of a tornado and we can't hear you, nobody's going to hear your problem, and it's not going to be worth it, and they're going to go right through your video and not look at it.
Yeah, it needs to be clear. That's right. Yeah, good. Maria was going to say something there. No.
Well, not
Maria?
horrible.
I think it's important. I'm a very camera shy person, and it's important to step out of that comfort zone, because believe me, during that academy, there's many times you're going to be stepped out of that comfort zone. So you might as well get used to it and jump on board during that application process.
Yeah, good point, Maria, good point. And, a lot of people have their how might we statement rolling across the screen just to reinforce what they're talking about. And that's great. And if you are really comfortable doing that and you know the tips and tricks of doing that, if not, look, I'd be going up to a board and like pointing it out maybe, like if there are skills that you haven't really developed, think of a workaround and get your message across. Be clear. Look at the camera. So what else?
Rhonda made a comment there about she wasn't in her video. She put a profile picture in. If you look through videos of past applicants and the ones that succeeded, you'll find videos where people just put in their Bitmoji or their whatever, or maybe they made an animation and they weren't in it. but I can tell you they're the minority. They're videos that are really good for some reason. But if you want to up your odds, if you want to increase the likelihood, be in your video.
Good point.
Because for every video that gets in that doesn't have you in it, it has some proxy for you, like an avatar or a profile picture or a Bitmoji or something else. I can tell you there's a lot more that do get in that had an actual video.
Good point. Because you've seen a lot of applications, Chris.
Yeah, they really have to stand out if you're not in them. There needs to be something else about them that grabs people's attention. And look, there's the obvious measurable stuff, like the lighting has to be okay. You know, don't stand in front of a window so you're a silhouette. Don't stand 6 meters away from the camera so we can't hear you. Like if you want to stand away from the camera, get one of those little lapel microphone thingies. They're $20 on eBay. Like it's not difficult to solve the technical aspects of a decent video. Good lighting, good sound, right? That's pretty much all you need to worry about there. Decent framing. But in terms of content, obviously you need to be able to say something worthwhile. And if you're developing your How Might We and you're going through this process, you've probably got something decent to say, which brings us to the third piece, and it's the bit that's hard to measure. It's the bit that's hard to quantify, and that is engagement. You know, are you creating a video that will hold someone's attention for a minute? You might think a minute's not a long time, but like they say most people stop watching a YouTube video in the first 10 seconds, right? Yep. Because if it doesn't grab your attention in the first 10 seconds, people go next. Now, this is not just a standard YouTube video, obviously, but use that as your kind of guideline as to whether your video is on the right track or not. If you were to take your finished video and give it to a friend or a relative or someone to watch and say, can you give me some feedback of that? If you can see them drifting off in the first 10 seconds or whatever, then go back and redo something, because obviously it's not grabbing attention, and that's what you need to do. And there's no magic formula for that, but you know it because you're a teacher and you talk about engagement all the time with your kids. So you know what engagement is. You just need to make sure that you build it into this video that you're presenting.
Also, reach out on Twitter. Reach out on the innovator chat that they're created in Hangouts or whatever the name is wrong. People will gladly take a look at what you've done, and I'm sure they'll criticize as much as you want them to criticize, because we're willing to help. We need more people that are crazy like us. So yeah.
Yep, sure. Thanks, Lewis. And I've just popped a link in there. Meet the Innovators. There's different innovators that are in that site. Meeting the cohorts, and I don't know whether they've got. I haven't had a look yet because I just came back into the to this space. I think they've got their videos in that site, so I'll go back and have a look at that in a minute. But yes, please reach out. I'll put it in again, the webinar sign up that Andy is going to fix, because there are some things out of whack there. There's one more webinar if you haven't been going to those. There's the form, and he said he's going to fix some of the dates, and things have changed radically, of course, since the form came out. And there's been about 5 of those webinars. I've missed a couple because they were not in my time zone, and I've watched them. They were really helpful. And also, that's the official one. This is an informal chat space. That's the official webinar series. And there's also, I'm just having a look here. Here's the Hangout. I'll pop that in again, and you can join that Hangout, and these people, innovators, are on regularly having a chat. I saw Abid on there this morning having a chat with people. So Abid, you're on. Do you want to say something? Please do.
Just to reiterate what Chris has said, really is I think what's so important about this program and what makes it so successful after you've been to the academy, and what makes that, the reason why we're here, what makes it so exciting for us that we want to, we've been through the process, and why are we still here trying to help other people? And it's because of that passion, it's because of that excitement that is generated from the program is because of the kind of the gratitude that we feel for having been through that process, how it's changed our lives, who it's put us in touch with, and I think that's why it's so important, because you've got to remember it's us, the existing innovators from the past, who are going to be marking your applications, and especially the ones who are active and engaged and sort of, you know, passionate about it. And I think I would definitely say the last thing I'm looking for is someone who doesn't exuberate that passion, you know. And I think the more that you show that passion and desire, because ultimately what's the innovative program looking for? It's looking for people who can change the world, you know. The 10x moonshot thinking, you know. I want to solve a problem in education on a grand scale, you know. I want people to be singing the praises of my solution for years to come around the world, and you know, those are the sort of aspirations I think you need to have for the academy. And you know, what Maria said about, you know, don't be afraid in the video, you know, absolutely. I mentioned the other night about my video, you know, that was the first time I've ever recorded any video of any sort that I've put online. And it was just me in it, because, you know, I didn't know anything about the graphics and all of that stuff to do that anyway. And the innovator, the academy is going to take you out of your comfort zone at so many points, and you know, it's all I can say is embrace it. You know, just embrace all those nerves and channel that into positive energy to go and fight for a fantastic solution that you're gonna take forward and you're gonna enjoy working with. And some really basic things that should be said, but are common mistakes from the past. Make sure you check all of your links and things like that. You know, make sure you've checked everything in an incognito window. Check that you've got all the permissions correct on your video, on your evidence, on anything like that. Andy mentioned it before, and he's mentioned it time and time again. You won't believe how many innovators or any hopefuls don't get selected because their video didn't work or their document didn't work.
It was just unavailable. Like that. That's right. Yeah. Or that, you know, your badge. If you have to show that you currently you hold a Google for Education level 2, and your image isn't shared with anyone with a link to view, well then, you know, you're not part of that application. They'll go on. And Abid's right. It's so important. You could have the best application ever, and if you haven't got your video link open for anyone to view, or your documentation, you have to add documents and the image of your level 2, you're sunk. So yes, incognito, Lewis, is your best friend. And also just check with someone who's outside your domain. Sometimes we get caught and it's within our domain. Anyone in the Catholic Education Lismore Diocese can view this. Find someone who isn't in that domain and double, triple, quadruple check. This is important. If you've got, you know, you've got everything else, your ducks in a row, as Abid said, you know, we really love to see those that excitement.
Another thing that trips people up in the application, especially, is when they see the part that relates to social media and your social media presence. It doesn't matter if you have hundreds of thousands of followers, which none of us do. We wish we did, but none of us do. It's more the quality of the content that you put out there than just retweet willy-nilly. If somebody goes to check you and all you do is retweet the same 5 edu celebrities, it's a lot better if you're like really creative and put yourself out there and create more good content instead of just rehashing.
Adding value. Adding
Yeah.
value all the time. I mean, I looked at my Twitter stream recently, and I've just recently gone to a webinar about social media presence. And I thought, yeah, I'm making that mistake. What I'm doing is I scheduled a whole lot of tweets, say for this open chat, I scheduled a whole lot of tweets, like every second day at different time zones. And then it okay, and then and my whole stream was just full of pumping out this one thing. So you need to rely on, I realized I had to rely on my innovator buddies to retweet it in their time zone. And it didn't look like I was adding any value in my Twitter stream at all. But like you can lurk and you can watch things happening, you can like something, and that's a little bit of value. You can retweet something without a comment. Yeah, that's a little bit of value. But if you retweet something with a comment and say, I've just tried this in my classroom and this is what I learned, that's adding value. Or if you've read something in a blog and you want to share that blog because it's just right on the moment. So no, you're right, Lewis, because we don't need to have all those followers. Most of us only started with a handful of followers anyway, and just learnt along the way. And Twitter is, a great big free professional development area. You could be in LinkedIn, you could be in Facebook, adding value into that. So yes, thanks, Lewis, for that. Any other what other questions have been coming in here? Yes, incognito is your friend, Lewis. That's right. Yeah, good. See, Rhonda said that she sent her application around to friends to get their input. Yes, and just you can see that as Chris said, that every couple of years, back in 2011, the criteria for the video is different. You don't get caught up on that when you go and have a look at all the different cohorts videos. They could have different elements. Don't go too far back.
Yeah, London 19 criticized my video, and they were brutal. Yes, they were. It was a good brutal. It was a good brutal, but they did, and it was very fruitful. So I did redo it. So yeah.
And you got in.
On the subject of the video, plan it out. We had a challenging video of 60 seconds, and the first thing I did was I wrote out my entire script that I wanted to I wanted to basically talk about, and then all I did was just read it to myself whilst timing myself for 60 seconds. And you'll find that it's quite surprising how much content you can get in that time. And so this year, you've got 90 seconds, you've got 30 seconds to talk about yourself, and then 60 seconds to talk about the challenge. And I think, if anything, to me, that feels like a more challenging video, because you've got 30 seconds to really sell yourself. And how are you going to get people who are going to be marking that application, going to be looking at that first 30 seconds? And you could get someone who might just look at that first 30 seconds and say, I'm not excited by this person, so screw the rest of the 60 seconds, because I'm not really sure about their and I think that might be something you might want to consider, is that first 30 seconds really work on how you're going to excite the people who are going to be looking at that application.
Sure.
And then and then focus on your problem for the remainder of the video.
It's funny, it makes us all sound so mercenary, doesn't it? If you don't get me in 10 seconds, you're out of here.
You're out. Yeah, like next.
It's not quite like that, but it's just all about trying to encourage you to think about engagement and making your passion come through. I was just going to say, I will admit that the criteria at the time was slightly differently, but one of my favorite application videos of all time was from a guy called Matt Ives from New Zealand, and although the criteria was different, he could have easily done it with the current criteria. Matt was just walking through his school, so it was a camera pan that was following him as he was walking towards the camera, as he was walking through the school, and he was trying to make a talk of his application video, and every time he opened his mouth to say something, some kid would pop out of a classroom and go, "Oh, sir, tell him about such and such," and then he'd go, "Yeah, I'll get to that," and then someone else would pop out of another classroom going, "Oh, Matt, don't forget to tell him that blah blah blah," and he'd go, "I'll get to that, and it got to the end of the 60 seconds, and he hadn't actually said anything because he was just constantly interrupted, but everyone else had said it for him. And it was just a brilliant video, and it was funny, and it made you laugh, and it was fun to watch, and it got the message across, you know. So just think outside the box. Just do. I don't know about you guys. Whenever I have to come up with something, and I know part of the criteria is about being creative, I always come up with like a couple of ideas about how I could do this, and then I scrap them all, and I go, "What else can I do?" Because if you just do your first ideas, then you're just doing your first ideas. Like just
dig deeper.
Throw first ideas out, because they're always, not always, but they're usually the obvious, right? And you don't want to do the obvious. So just come up with what you think would be a good solution, then throw it away and force yourself to come up with an alternative.
There was someone from London that did one that he was like up late at night, and it was like, that was an awesome video.
Yeah. No, thanks for that. I think Clay's found that video, so copy that out.
Yeah, no, and obviously, and like I want to put a caveat on that. It was done using a very different criteria, so obviously it's it's not directly translatable, but it's the creativity piece that I think is worth.
Yeah, good. And I might remind people to get a copy of that chat, so you can refer back to some of these links. Because we'll finish in about 5 minutes, so make sure that you get a copy of that so you can have a look. By the time this downloads and I have breakfast, because what is it, 10 o'clock? I haven't had breakfast yet. So by the time I have breakfast and come back to the computer, I probably won't upload this video for another couple of hours yet. So that's yeah. So, and you know, like some people are trying to like they're talking about storyboarding, which was great. Maria brought that up. And getting your ideas in order. And Abid said that, you know, like he was practicing with his script. And some people have a like a script reader, a device that sits above their camera. I've been finding that you know, like I like to have a document on the screen when I'm talking to the camera, and it's just below the screen. And then I found that when I watched it back, I'd be tracking along like this, and I thought, oh, that looks really boring. So what I do is I put it at about the text is about 100 font, and then I narrow the margin in, so there's not a lot of eye movement. And if I go to share my screen with anyone, it's like monitor burn. Everyone goes, whoa. So it's but it suits me. You just find something. You might have some post-it notes around, so you just remember, you know, what next point it is that you're on about. So
for anyone who wants to do that, we talked about it recently about teleprompting. There's a lovely little Chrome app that works on Chromebooks called Teleprompt, T-E-L-L-Y prompt.
T-E-L-L-Y prompt. I'm just putting it in, Chris.
Yeah, and someone mentioned it the other day in the chat, and I downloaded and installed it, and it's really good. Only works on Chromebooks because it's a Chrome app. Okay. If you're on Mac or Windows, there's probably other alternatives there.
Yeah, but I use
Teleprompt
Parrot.
Is free and easy, and
it's good.
Very customizable.
I'll add it to my notes there as well, because I use one called Parrot on my my smart device. But if this goes straight out of Chromebook, I mean, what a great! Now there it is, teleprompt. Yep. Okay then. Thanks, Chris, for that.
If you were like anything like me, I did like 1 million takes. By the end of it, I knew it all by heart. But like the first 2 times, I could see my eyes going like that. So yeah. But I practice. It's not that I practice. I just did it over and over and over again. Since I was at school, somebody was always running in the way, so I had to do it like 1 million times. So yeah.
The other thing too, I'd mentioned, I had to make a video this week, and I must admit I didn't script it. I just made it up as I went along. But I kept getting halfway through what I wanted to say, and I go, "Oh, that was rubbish," so I'd start again. Just for people who aren't used to making videos, just remember that you don't need to start the camera, do a take. Don't like it, stop the camera. Start the camera, do a take, don't like it, stop the camera. You don't have to do that. You just have to start the camera and then say what you want to do. And if you need to stop, just stop, pause, start again. If it's no good, stop, pause, start again. But just leave the camera running. because you're just going to go into post-production. You're just going to cut out all the crap anyway, and you're just going to keep the bit you want. But make your life easy. Don't keep starting and stopping the camera. That's just frustrating.
Yeah, well, you know, between, like, if I'll make a comment or a statement and then I think that was no good, and then I do that, and so I can see that as I'm running through the ribbon of the video, I can see me doing this, and I think, oh, now I'll stop and listen to that bit, and then I think, no, so it's just like a clapperboard, but I do that, and I realise that this is a new take within the series. So you'll find your own little tips and tricks to do that.
And most editing programs, you have a separate audio and video track, and you can actually look at the audio track and you can actually see the waveform on the audio track. And when you stop talking to pause between a bad take, you'll see a gap in the audio anyway.
Yeah, usually that's when I just break out in you know, unpleasant words.
Film with the camera at the back of your phone, not the front of your phone. It's got better resolution.
Yeah, good point.
Not because it'll look better, but because if you need to edit out stuff, you have more stuff to edit out.
Good point. Good point. Okay,
generally
we're coming
speaking,
to
the camera on the back is generally speaking much higher quality anyway.
And please, pretty please, film landscape, not portrait.
Yes.
Aha. Good tip. So we've got about 3 minutes left. So anybody wants to jump in, because Lewis has just given us some golden points there. So has Chris. So any other point, if there's a question, if you've been thinking, yeah, I've just kept quiet all this time and I want to ask a question, you've got 3-4 minutes.
Just one other thing on the video, for what it's worth, when I used to record a lot of videos, I do it late at night because that's kind of my time. I'm a bit of a night owl person. Lighting is terrible at night. If you're going to make a video, try and do it in the morning where you can have natural light coming through the window, because it looks so much better. Trying to do it underneath internal lighting is just the shadows are bad. It just doesn't look great, even though that might be your preferred time of working.
Yep. No, that's good. Thanks, Chris. Any other tips in the last 2 minutes? Just good luck, everyone, and keep in touch with people. Ask questions. As an innovator, I'm going to take on Chris's suggestion and drive people nuts and say, yeah, but why? Yeah, but why? Okay, looking good. Okay, all right, everyone. So, oh, that's great. Thanks, Ted. It's really great to reach out to people, and Google Innovator have their open their chats open for people to pop in at any time, and I'm running these informal get-togethers every 2 weeks. This week it was 9 o'clock to try and help people who are in different time zones. In 2 weeks' time, it'll be at 7:30 Oz time, and that will help with the time difference as well. But mainly I set this out because, look, I got to a point where I was about to hit submit, and I thought, am I really innovator material? Come on, let's just think about it. You know, like the video and the application, it was all really, you know, tense and exciting and worrying. And I'm thinking, hang on, if I'm going to fall short before I press that submit button, am I innovator material? So then I left that submit button. I was ready to submit, and I left it for a day, and I walked past the computer and think, I'll think about it. And I nearly didn't submit. And I nearly didn't submit because I wasn't connecting with other people on Twitter and asking their opinion, and you know, driving me to be better and to acknowledge that I've made the right decision in the application. I nearly didn't hit submit, and I didn't want anyone to feel like that. So as long as there are places for people to come and ask, you know, questions, it's, you know, just us here and we can support you. So I didn't want anyone to ever feel like that again.
Got one thing I want to add, mind you, I think this is a testament to this imposter syndrome we all talk about, where we never think we're doing enough. We never think we're quite like, why would anyone pick me? Because, you know, about 12 years ago, I wrote a book and I needed some opinions about some people. I was trying to look for who were the movers and shakers in this particular field. And I asked around and said, who's doing really interesting things in technology? And someone came back and said, you need to speak to Leslie Altman up on the North Coast.
Chris,
she's doing amazing things. She's such an innovator. So like 12 years ago, I was being recommended to Leslie as this innovative
Chris,
teacher.
thank you so much.
And she's sitting here, last year going, I'm not sure I'm enough. Stop it.
Yeah,
and look, we all go through it.
People tend to underestimate themselves, and you have to remember that sometimes stuff that you do every day that seems silly is fantastic to other people, and you underestimate yourself. Like, look at this guy that I have. Well, from my perspective, on top of me is Clay. Clay does awesome stuff, and he does it like in his sleep through his beard. We don't know. Yeah,
through our chats.
Yeah, these are. I always have no idea that this is anything cool or interesting, and yet people love what I create. Yep. So
don't underestimate yourself, people. Get that application organized, get that video started, and we're going to have another chat in 2 weeks' time. And also, hook into that last webinar for the Google Innovators program has been presenting that. We'll present that for you. Copy out that chat. Make sure you've got those links. And I'm going to stop the recording now. And let's call it a day, a night, or a good morning.